Let me start record. By seeing this diagram, don't assume that number of blocks equal to number of mapper classes. No, number of mapper instances. No. Okay, please remove that from your mind. There is something called, I need to explain you some, before mapper there are some more things are happening. So I'm going to explain it today now. Okay, so I have to get you an idea how that those are launching. I have given this. It doesn't mean that each block will be processed by single mapper. No, it is true. It doesn't, I'm not telling it is always false. It is true, but it's not always. Some cases it is correct, some cases it is not correct. Which cases it is correct, which cases is not correct, you will be understanding by seeing the further classes. Okay, so as I explained last class, we have a mapper phase and reduce phase. Your mapper phase, a mapper is a class and reduce is a class, right? The mapper, mapper, mapper is a class from Apache or Hadoop. You can say Mapreduce dot from that framework, from that package, and reduce is also a class from that package. In that class you have something called setup method, you have something called map method, you have something called cleanup method. So setup and cleanup method we will discuss later because those are not that much important at this point. We will discuss more about the map method and reduce method. So your each map method will execute on the block of data. The block of data means there is something called input split. We will talk about that. So each map method will be calling for each record in the map. What is that? So how it will work? So let's look at guys here. Let's look at. So I'm going to make it a little bigger. This I'm going to make the screen is a little bigger. But I need it. Okay. Now look at guys here. As I said, your mapper class has three set of methods. Three methods, not three set of, three different methods. Mapper has three methods. What are they? The mapper class, if you see, you will be having something setup method. You'll be having something map method, and you'll be having something cleanup method. These are the three methods are available in the mapper. Let's discuss about the mapper first, then we'll go with the reducer later. Okay, in this map method, in this map method, we will be writing our business logic in this. The actual process we will write here. Our business logic. Our business logic we will be writing here. Our logic will be writing here. The actual logic will be right here. The actual logic we will write here, which need to process a data. Okay. Before that, do you guys set up the your Mapreduce in your Eclipse? Do you guys set it up the Mapreduce in your Eclipse, guys? Yes
No,
or
no,
no?
till now, no, no.
Oh, it's really bad. Okay, okay, okay. So let me do one thing. Is it okay? Let me do one thing. You guys go to this location. Go to this location. Everyone. Everyone, go to that location. You have something called Mapreduce Eclipse setup with example document. Download that, download the document, and by tomorrow, you guys need to do a setup. I want to see a setup in your missions by tomorrow. By tomorrow, I want to see setup in your missions. Okay, everyone. It's pretty simple steps. Okay, so and if you want to see a video, if you're not able to follow this, and the video will give you some more idea. If you want to see that, go to Mapreduce 2. This Mapreduce 2 videos. In this, you have something called Mappers Eclipse setup. This is most important thing. You please go through it. Please go through it and do a setup for your Eclipse. So in which Eclipse we need to do? We need to do an Ubuntu Eclipse. We need to do inside the Ubuntu. Okay. So please go through this video. So let me share this video link as well. Everyone guys, please go through this. Why? Because this is very much important to set up Eclipse for MapReduce. Very much important for setting up the Eclipse for the MapReduce programs. Okay. Please go through this. And please set up the by tomorrow. Anyway, I'll be explaining some theory part today, so we will see an example tomorrow. I thought to show some example. I forget to inform you to do a setup. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so we will be writing our logic into a map method. What is the map method? Guys, we are going to discuss now something about what is a map method. What is a map method? What is a map method? Look at here. Your your map method is like a normal method only, guys. Let's say I have something called public int return type. Add, I'm expecting int I comma int j. What is this method? This is a normal method, right? I'll be doing something here. Return I plus b or whatever it is. Whatever I plus j or whatever it is. So this method has to call from somewhere, from the main method, and we'll create our object dot whatever the object you have created, and we'll call add method by passing some values. 10 comma 10. Correct? Yes or no? The same way, your map method also a method. A map method also a method which will take your map method also a method which will take two type of variables. One type is key. It need two type of parameters. Key will call as a k1 comma value 1. I'll say key1 value 1, and there is something called context. We'll talk more about the context later point of time, not to worry about it. So your map method takes the major, these are the important, so we need to discuss more. That's why I said two parameters. So actually your map method is taking three parameters. So, and we will be writing the logic here. What is this map method? What is this key value? Your MapReduce framework works based on the key value pairs. Whatever you give, you are giving a huge file that will be converted into key value pairs. Who is converting, how it is getting converted, I'll tell you that. I'll show that. Okay, we'll be seeing very detailedly who is converting and how they're getting converted. So your map method taking key1 v1, processing the data and returning. It's not returning, it's writing. Actually it is outputting. We'll call as emitting. This is emitting key 2 and value 2. Correct? No, it will take a key 1 value 1, because whatever the data you give, whether you give text file or whether you give XML file or whether you give comma separate file, whatever the file you give, or whether you give an image or whatever you give based on your requirement. So what it will do, it will convert that data into key value pairs. How it will convert a text file into key value pair? What will be my key? What will be my value? Those things I will show you. Okay, the key value pairs will be divided based on your input format. We will discuss that in very detail, very detail. We'll be seeing that. Okay, now your map method which it takes the key1 v1, will say key1 value 1, and it will gives to key2 value 2. To whom it will give? It gives in the sense whatever the process you have done, it will output into a file which will be loading into your hard disk, if hard disk of the data node. Suppose this map 1 is launching on disk 1, data node 1. Okay, data node 1, this is really important guys, try to understand. So your map method is running on data node 1. Okay, let's say in this map 1 is running. Okay, now when it is running map 1 method in this, whatever the output will come, right, that will be writing into local disk of local disk or local file system, not HDFS, local file system of data node, local file system of the data node. When you are running a map method, whenever the map method is giving output, that output will be writing into your data node's local memory, I mean local hard disk. The output will be writing into the output will be writing into data nodes local disk. That too normal file system, that too normal file system, right, that too normal file system, not in the HDFS. I think you guys know what is the difference between the HDFS and local file system, right? So now here this map method, here if you look at in the main method, this add method is there, right? Let's assume that this add method this add method I'm I'm writing into a loop. Let's say while some condition here, x greater than 100, in this object dot add of, I'll be passing some value here. I'll be passing x comma, let's assume that x comma 20 every time I'm passing here. Or you can have y also here, y equal to some initially 0, you can also increment y, right? Here x equal to x plus 1, y equal to y plus 1. Now tell me guys, how many times your add method will call here? How many times your add method will call in this? Anisha, Harika, Akash, I have written my add method. I'm calling my add method in the while loop, and how many times it will call? Guys, no one. Akash, are you able to hear me? Anisha, Ganesh, Harika, hello, Kishore.
Veera, what is the condition inside the while loop? It
X
is not clear.
x greater than 100. X greater than or equal to 100. Let's assume that.
Okay.
How many times? How many times your add method will get called? Guys, Kishore.
It's 100 times Veera.
So 100 times it will get called, guys. What happened? Guys are not practicing Java code. So it means your map method is not getting called, your add method is not getting called once. The map method, this add method is getting called multiple times because it is there in the while loop. So for each value, for x first 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2 comma 2, 3 comma 3, 4 comma 4, and so on. So it will be giving you always the output. When first time it will give some output I plus j, it means first time it will give 2, second time it will give 3, second time it will give 6, sorry, second time it will give 4, then it will give 6, then it will give 4 plus 4 8, like that you will be keep getting the output. Correct? It means your add method getting called multiple times. At the same way your map method also will be getting multiple times, not in a single time. So how many times your my map method is getting called? So what based on it is getting called? I'll be showing you that. So very simple. Let's say your block has a, for timing you understand only block. Okay, so I'll tell you later. Your block has a 10 lines, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and so on. If you have a line 10 lines in your block, so ideally it's input split. I should not say a block, but for initial, this is a second class of Mapreduce, so you understand in the form of blocks only. This block has a 10 lines, your map method will call 10 times. If your block has 100 lines, your map method will call 100 times. Your block has your block has 1000 lines, 1000 records, your map method will call 1000 times. How it will call, who is calling, I'll be showing that. First try to understand this. Now your map method is given key to value 2, because your whole Mapreduce framework is working based on the key value pairs. Whatever the data you give, it will convert into key value pairs, then they will work on the key value pairs. Now you have something called reduce method. You have something called reduce method in the reducer. You have something called reducer class. In this again you have a setup method and reduce method, and you have a cleanup method. Now the final logic, the aggregation logic. Okay, so mapper is for map each and every block and process some initial basic algorithm or whatever you call, and the reducer is mainly for aggregating the data, aggregating. So if you see yesterday we have seen some logic here, and to find the maximum value, and the final output is aggregating here. So the reducer is mainly meant for the aggregation. The reducer is mainly meant for the aggregation, right? So your reducer will be having aggregation logic. So what your reducer will do here, your reduce method will take key 2 comma value 2 of each mapper, if you run so many mappers, it will run, there will be something called sort and shuffle, and copying data sort and shuffle, there is something called, but we will talk more about that later. But try to understand now, whatever the k2 v2 is given by your mapper, that k2 v2 will taken by whom, your reduce method will take as input. Your reduce method will take it as an input. Okay, so you told it's already written local disk. Yes, it is written, it's reading from the local disk only. Directly your map, the map is not giving to him, it is reading from the local disk. It is reading from their local disk. Okay, so your reduce method will take a key to value 2, and it will do whatever the aggregation logic it has, and it will emit key 3 value 3. Guys, understand the flow? This is the flow it work. What it will do, whatever the output is given by your mapper in the form of key and value, in the form of a key and value, and it will process the data. It will take the input to your map method in the form of k1 key1 value 1, and it will process the data, and it will give the values, or it will emit the data in the form of key 2 value 2, and your reducer will take that key 2 and value 2, that specific key 2 value 2, and it will do the aggregation, further aggregation, and finally it will emit, k3 or key 3 value 3. Do you guys understand what I'm trying to say here? Any doubts? Do you guys understood what I'm trying to say here? Anisha, guys, please could you please respond to me, then I can understand whether you guys are able to follow or not. Please.
Yes,
Basically,
sir,
first
understood.
the mapper will have key 1 value 1, then it will output key 2 value 2, then the mapper will take that key 2 value 2 and give it to reducer.
Mapper will not take and give to reducer, so your mapper will take key 1 value 1
Yes.
and it will process the data.
Yeah. And
After processing the data, it will emit, or it will output key 2
yeah,
value 2.
output. Yeah.
That key 2 value 2 will be go to the reducer. That key 2 value 2 will go to as an
Reducer.
input to reducer, and it will process aggregations here, and it will give output as a key 3 value 3. Is it Nagareddy asking? Who is this Nag? Okay, Anisha, I'm repeating your question one more time, whether you understood or not, I didn't get. So you are asking that, Ravi, the map method will execute based on the number of records in a input split. Ideally, your block. For timing, you understand as a block. It is input split. You should not say as a block. You should say it is as a you should say it is as a input split. So what is input split? I'll talk later. So how many lines are there in your input split? Those many times your map method will execute. Everyone understood that point? Now, what about reducer? What about reduce method? How many times the reduce method will execute? After your map, the output will come, no? After your map, the output will come, right? That output will go, one second. The output will go to, let me clear this to explain this. Your map output will go to local hard disk of each data node. That's what I have said. After that, what it will do, your reducer will take that output from the local hard disk and it will move to, there is something called short and shuffle phase. There is something called short and shuffle phase. Okay, it will take to short and shuffle phase. There, it will form the key value pairs. It will group the key value pairs. One second. Oh, whatever I have cleared, I get it back. Okay, it will take the key value pairs which is outputted from the mapper. It will be which is there in the hard disk. It will read that. After reading, it will form a key value pairs. Your reducer will form a key value pair. That is called reduce phase only. Reduce phase is nothing but only executing the reduce method. Map method is nothing but, map phase means not only executing the map method. Please guys, please be clear on this. Map mapper means not only executing a map method. There are some other, before executing your map method, there are some other processes. We will talk about that. Your reduce phase means not only executing your reduce method, there are some other things before executing the reduce method. Okay, let me show you that. Anyway, people are asking, you guys are raise the question, let me explain that here. Okay, so let me explain. Now these mappers are given output, right? These mappers are given output, right? As soon as they given the output, they will write into hard disk. From the hard disk, your mapper phase, before reduce phase, before executing your reduce method, before executing the reduce method, it will execute, there is something called copy phase. What is the copy phase? This copy phase, so in the cluster, look at guys here. This is executing the mission 1. Your map 1 is executing the mission 1. Your map 2 executing the mission 2. Your map 3 is executing mission 3. Map 4 executing mission 4. Yes or no? Ideally. Correct? These are executing 3 different missions or 4 different missions. Correct? So now map 1 will give some output. Guys, please respond to me. Anisha, Ganesh,
Yes, sir.
please.
Yeah, yes, sir. It will give different outputs from all the different mappers.
Correct. This guy will give some output, this guy will give some output, this guy will give some output, and this guy will give some output. So this guy's output, where it will be there? In this machine only. Correct. And this guy's output will be in his own data node. This guy's in output will be there in this guy's own data node. This guy's output will be there in his this guy's hard disk. Now, before going to reduce, it will start copy all the data from these disks. It will copy all the data from these disks. It will start copy all the data from these disks. That is called copy phase. That is called copy phase. After copying into some one location, it can be any of the data node. It can be any of the data node. Your reducer, where it is the reducer is going to launch, right? That machine. So once it is loaded into that machine, it will execute the sort and shuffle. What is the sort and shuffle? So it will do a sort. It will do a sort based on the key. Okay, here let's assume that I got a key as a K. I got a key as a M. I got a key as N. I got a key as a K. So here it will sort and shuffle. It will group the keys. It will sort and shuffle the things and it will group. See here in this case. In this case, after copying, whatever the output comes, it will form a keys. K2 value and K2 value. So like this it will form the keys. Now, how many key values comes like this? Those many times your reduce method will execute. So let's say I have, after processing everything, after sort and shuffle, I have only 20 key value pairs. We'll be keep discussing more in detail, guys, so don't worry. Okay, but time being, I'm just giving you an idea in high level. So let's assume that you have a 20 key value pairs. Your reduce method will execute 20 times. Your reduce method will execute 20 times. Understand this point, everyone?
Yes, Veera.
Right. So Ganesh asked me a question saying that, Ravi, how many blocks or how many splits are there? Those many mappers are launched. Very good. So how many reducers are launched? Based on what, how many reducers are launched? It's a really very good question. So by default, it is one reducer and the maximum is two reducers. I'll show you the configuration as well. By default, it will be one reducer to execute. The maximum reducers are two, right? So why we have only one reducer? Why can't we have multiple reducers? So if it has only one reducer, it won't be a burden on it. It won't be performance hit. Yes, all these questions will be answered and going forward. So why we are using a reduce method? The reduce method is using for the reduce method is using for the reduce method is using for aggregate the data to get the final single output. If I have a multiple reducers, I will get the multiple outputs, which may not feasible in all the cases. Some cases is really good, some cases not feasible, or not, some cases is not good to have a multiple output files, right? So that is the reason by default we'll be having one reducer. You can change how many reducers you want. You can change how many reducers you want. That we can see later. Okay. So your mapper phase and reduce phase, everyone is clear?
Ravi, one doubt.
Go ahead.
So in the example which you told is like in the copy phase, it is copying from key value pairs. Say example 20 key value pairs, and so once it is copied, all these values it will go into the reducer, right? So you are telling like it will be one reducer or 20 reducers?
One reducer only. One reduce method only. It will be keep calling for each key value pair.
Okay.
And also after the copy phase, there is something called sort and shuffle. Shuffle and sort. You don't forget about that. That is very much important. Shuffle and sort. Okay, this shuffle and sort, what it will do? Let's assume that I have copied 50 key value pairs. So in that there may be same key. Let's assume that I'm getting the data as Ganesh 10 and Ravi 20 and again Ganesh 50. Again Ravira some 20. Again Ravi some 20. How many unique keys are there in this? Only 3. Ganesh, one key, unique key after shuffle, after grouping. So he has Ganesh has a 10, 50, and Ravi has a 20, 100, and Veera. How many keys are? Only 3 key value pairs?
Yeah.
Only 3 value pairs. So now, even though you copied so many key value pairs from so many places, after sort and shuffle, after grouping, you will be having only unique keys. Unique keys. So how many unique keys are there after sort and shuffle? Those many times your reduce method will execute. Is this clear, Ganesh?
Yeah. Okay. So this one is Ganesh, Ravi, and
Veera.
these three key value pairs are the output after the short and shuffle. So
Yes,
this will be the input for the reducer.
exactly. Very good.
Okay. So once it goes into the reducer, or depending on this number of key value pairs, number of reducer methods will call. So for example here, so three reducer methods will be called. Is it correct, Virat?
Reduce method only, this method will call 3 times. You should not say 3 reduce methods. One reduce method only, 3 times it will call.
Yeah. 3 times it will call, but with only one reducer.
Yes, only
With
one
only
method.
one reducer only.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Everyone is clear? Anisha? Akash? I'm not hearing Akash from some time.
Yes, Veera.
Harika? Kishore? Masood? Rakesh? Sai? Vaishnavi? Right? Now, very good. Everyone understood. Your map has a key value pair, reduce has a key value pair. Now, in this add example, what are the add example I have taken here? You have some data type for each element. You have some data type here. Integer. You have some data type. Here, what is the data types for my key value pairs? It means your it means your your Mapreduce has some key value pairs. Sorry, some data types. Is that understand? It means your Mapreduce has some key value pairs. Guys, are able to follow? Your Mapreduce has, it will take the key value pairs and it will process. It means it has a key value pairs. It has the data types as well. Yes or no? It has some data types as well. Your Mapreduce
Yes,
framework
Veera.
has its own data types because it is taking its own key value pair variables, right? So what are those data types which has the Mapreduce? What is the data types where your Mapreduce has? Let's look at here. Let's look at here. I'm going to explain the data types of your Mapreduce framework. So why do we need to maintain separate data types for Mapreduce framework? Anyway, Mapreduce framework is designed and developed by using Java, right? Why can't I use the Java? Why can't I use the Java data types only? Why should I have Mapreduce specific data types? There is a specific reason for it, guys, to improve the performance. So I will show you that we will talk about them later. So if you get even this doubt, please keep in that, and we will talk about that later. Okay, Mapreduce has its own data types. Mapreduce has its own data types. Mapreduce has its own data types. So let me compare with some data types with Java. I can say Hadoop or Mapreduce. I cannot say Hadoop because Hive has its own different data types. I'll say Mapreduce data types. Mapreduce data types. Actually, those comes from the Hadoop IO only. We can also say Hadoop. Okay, those are from Hadoop IO. Okay, now in Java we have something called int as a primitive type, and as a wrapper class integer. Yes or no, guys? We have here something called int writable. Int writable. We have something here called float. Here we have a float as a class, and here we have writable, float writable. Here something called long, and long as a class, wrapper class. Here we have a long writable. Here we have something called double. Here we have something called double class. Here also we have writable. Here you have something called boolean. Here we have a boolean class. Here I have boolean writable. There are also class types, guys. These are not primitive types. These are primitive types here, and these are class types. Correct? These are all only class types. And we have something called null value here. Null. Here we have something called null writable. Here we have something called string or char array. String or char array. Here we have something called text. Here we have something called hash map or map. Here we have something called map writable. Okay. Anything else? I think there are a few more in this. As of now, I do remember only this much. So these are the data types are available. These are the data types are available. Now, based on these data types, your map method and reduce method will be defined. So my map method may take long writable. Guys, it is really based on there is something called input format. I'll be telling you later. Key 1 text v1. I'm taking some some data types, so I'll explain how I taken later. So I will emit text long writable. My reducer, guys, you need to remember one thing is a very much interesting and careful thing. We need to understand here that whatever the data type is given by your mapper as an output, your reducer output should be same type. Input should be same type. Text long writable. Actually, this value is a collection of value. It is collection of values. We'll talk about that. We'll say iterable. If you see in the previous example, as I explained, Ganesh, Veera, like that. So, is this a single value or multiple values? Is a single value or multiple values? Multiple values, no? If you have a multiple values, there's a collection, no? That can be array, that can be set, that can be something else, right? Collection of values, right? So that is the reason I am telling you here, a reducer is collection of values. Okay, so here your map is giving k2 or key2 as a text and long writable as a value 2. Your reducer also will take same type of data. Let me explain this. So we are seeing very high level and we're little getting deeper. Okay, so here, where is your cursor? Here text k key2 comma iterable. What is iterable? It means collection of long writable values, value 2, and you will be writing your own logic here, and based on your logic you can emit your k3 with 3. What are the logic, what are the type? There is no relation here. Text key 3 long writable value 3. This is how it work. So these two should be match. These two should be match. If this is not matching, it means this one. If it is not matching, it will give error. If it is not matching, it will give error. Your k2, key 2 and key 2 in the reducer should match. Your value 2 from the mapper and value 2 in reduce, it should match. Otherwise, it will throw an error. Is this point is clear, everyone? Is this point is clear? Akash, Anisha, Ganesh, Harika, Kishore, Masood,
Yes, Veera.
right? So your mapper has taken key 1 value 1 as a long writable text. How it is taken, I'll explain. It is based on some condition or some format of the data. It is taken automatically. I'll tell you that how it will take, and it will process some data and it is emitting. It is giving output as key 2 and value 2. It's decided have some data type that will be decided by you. V in the sense whoever is writing logic for it. This we will be deciding it. And this data type and this data type should match, otherwise it will give an error. Your text here, it should be matched with this text. It should match with the text. Here long writable, your map method also should match with the long writable, otherwise it will give error, right? And the final output, what should be this final output? We will decide. We in the sense we who write the code, developer will decide what is the final output based on the requirement, based on the use case, right? This is how the data types, and this is how it will work. So by tomorrow you guys please make, by tomorrow you guys please make setup ready. And also the document which I have shared, the document has code. The document has code. If it's possible, you guys might type the code, code in that setup. So I'm repeating one more time. Use this video for the setting up the your Eclipse. You can look at here. This from here I'm showing you setting up of the Eclipse, right? From here I'm showing you how to set up the Eclipse. So from here you can find the document to see the step-by-step procedure to set up the Eclipse. Okay, from here you can see how to do a setup step by step. Please do it. Don't no don't keep it for pending for next class. By tomorrow we will be doing small exercise. So if I till we do small exercise, we will not be understanding it. Clear, guys? Anisha, others, is this point is clear?
Yes, sir. Fine.
This will run for the same data 3 times because we are having all the 3 data same data in the 3 machines.
Very good question, Ganesh. It's a really very good question. Guys, what is the Ganesh question is? So we have a replication factor is 3, right? We will be storing 3 copies in all the machines. So the map method will execute for the 3 copies for the block 1, 3 copies for the block 2, 3 copies for the block 3. It will it do like that? No. If it do like that, we will get the duplicate data. So your job tracker will take care of that. It will execute only on unique blocks. It will not execute on all the blocks. So for the block 1, even though if you have 100 copies, it will execute only once on one block. So if that block is not responding properly or that block is failed, it will launch on other block. Okay, actually here I will in the going forward will come to know. So the block will not will come into picture here. We will come into picture something called input splits. We will talk about that input splits. So it will be executing on one. For as of now, you guys are understanding as a block. Yes, it will execute as a one block only, one unique copy only. It will not execute all the copies. It will execute only one unique copy. Clear, Ganesh?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Ravi. Yeah.
Guys, the question is here. The short and shuffle will call. The short and shuffle will call automatically, or we need to call whenever we want. So the short and shuffle will not call. We will not call explicitly. The short and shuffle will call. The phase will call by framework automatically whenever all mappers are completed. Whenever all mappers are completed, the short and shuffle will be executing. And when the mappers are few mappers are completed, few mappers are not completed, right? That time the copy phase will execute. It will be start copying the data from whoever is completed. Okay.